episode of The Little Radio Show. My name is Sandra Fernandez, and my co-hosts are Juan, Alanis, and Anjelica, Cazares, and we're bringing you small talk about big topics. In this week's show, we have a talk about the Instagram versus Snapchat wars and the new features that both social media giants have rolled out and how they're going to head. We have a little bit of a talk about Pokemon Go and how the app industry is so huge and what that might mean for the future of businesses and some of the jobs that you might want to think about. And we take a little bit of a look at the growth in Houston and what that means for renters and new development for rentals. Just a reminder that you can catch us every week on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on hmsnetradio.org. Our show archives and the link to our iTunes and the Stitcher channels are available at thelittleradioshow.com. I want to take this moment to give a special thanks to our listener, Brownsville Girl, for her 5-star review on iTunes. She writes, "Finally, a podcast by Tejanos talking about ordinary life in the 21st century. Thanks a lot. We encourage the rest of you to leave us a rating or a review. Who knows? We might read your review on the air." Are you on Snapchat? Are you on Instagram? I know that the three of us are, and a lot of people out there are, because Snapchat and Instagram are two of the largest social media networks out there. There's some very interesting things that have been happening recently between the two networks. Snapchat was the first to do
like
do
real
the foray.
time.
Yes.
Like...
So Snapchat started out as they used to call it the sexting app because Snapchat was created so that your messages disappeared after 24 hours and no one could see them unless you gave them permission to do. Okay. Right. And then it became so popular and it just completely blew up. And then all of a sudden there was, channels on there and people providing information. And then
there were brands spending lots and lots of money.
Brands spending lots and lots of money. And then there were the geo filters. And then there's all this other stuff. But it was always Snapchat. The thing that differentiated it was you had to post real time. That was it. Like, if I wanted to post something right now, I had to, take it now. And if I wanted to post a photo or a video that had been taken previously, I had to, in real time, take a photo or a video of that photo or video being shown on something else.
There was a technicality where you can put it on airplane mode and they can upload it later. But I didn't know that if you didn't upload it within the 24-hour period, that it was gone anyway.
Yeah. So the intent was it's timely. Snapchat is now. So Snapchat rolled out memories. And if you're not familiar with this, it's the ability on Snapchat to basically pull things out of your camera roll, both videos and images, add filters to them or writing, and then post them to your stream. Now, they do differentiate how this shows up. There's a
looks smaller than the regular, yeah.
There's a timestamp on there. There's all sorts of stuff that they've done. But marketers all over.
And see, I wasn't a big fan of the memories because I was like, I wanted them to be as big. I wanted them to look like the regular snaps. And so when they didn't, I was like, I don't really like that. So
but they had to do something to differentiate. And I understand where they're coming from. Yeah. Because otherwise, it sort of kills the immediacy of it. That's true. We don't know what will happen in a year from now. Because Snapchat's what they're doing is they're trying to make themselves more user-friendly to brands, more user-friendly to people who are going to all of a sudden see that this is actually a way that you can integrate with marketing. And I'm not talking about the cool people that have been on it for the last year or so. I'm talking about the old stodgy holdouts.
Everyday users.
Yes, the everyday user. And so now what you can do is you can pre-create your images. You can make sure that your bosses approved it and everything, and you can post it on Snapchat. Now, it's fine. Memories is fine. I see the marketing perspective of it, which is great. But
I think the issue that Snapchat has had, though, is really being able to delve into the metrics. Because I think that's the thing. Like, when you look at Facebook, or you look at Instagram, you look at anything else, you can measure what the impressions are. On Snapchat, it's because it's private. You can't. So I think to me, like, that's what I've heard a lot, is like people are like, I like it, it's cool, but from a marketing perspective, from a business perspective, I can't really tell, like, what am I getting out of that?
Well, and Instagram did two things also recently. One was at the same time that Snapchat rolled out their memories, Instagram rolled out analytics. They rolled out their business account, which I know, I have clients who went and claimed a business account immediately. You have to have a Facebook business account. You go in, and what this is supposed to do is it's supposed to give you analytics on Instagram. And there are people all over the country who
and you can promote.
And you can promote. And you're like, yay! Oh my goodness, yay, that's wonderful. Okay, because that just made it so much user-friendly for marketers. Not that it wasn't already, but it made it so much user-friendly for marketers. And then they rolled out stories. Yeah. And so basically, in Instagram, stories is basically running a Snapchat like 24-hour expiration stream inside your Instagram.
It's pretty much a copy.
It looks like two,
except for the filters.
Yes.
It looks like two apps at once.
Yes.
And I was like, this is weird. I like it.
Yes.
I have to say that I've been a fan of Instagram forever, and I think everybody knows this.
Yes.
And so I'm quite excited.
Well, there's some real...
I already open up Instagram, and just to like go and do a story if I don't want to take a picture of what I'm doing, because sometimes some people have had the conversation that they like to curate their Instagram, and it has been like that. It has been like the foo nice picture that I took yesterday with the DSLR, and I uploaded it, whatever, right? Yeah. And so now real-time conversations on Instagram, you don't have to leave the app to go to Snapchat to go find whoever, and they might not even be on Snapchat. Here's the thing. A quick question. Are there more Instagram users than there are Snapchats?
Well, it's not the fact that there are more Instagram users than there are Snapchat. It's that you can find them easily.
Oh, that is true. That is right.
And if you have like it's public, so if you have a large audience already on Instagram, then you can easily just connect with them, and you don't I used it yesterday, and I was comparing the two, and obviously the stories has higher numbers, higher engagement, because there's more people on there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So first of all, and this is what I'm going to say, because on Instagram, I saw like more people using it on Instagram, but I follow like over 1,000 people on Instagram. Okay. Mm-hmm. On Snapchat, if I follow 100, I think that's a lot, actually. It's more, because more deliberate, it's more curated. Instagram, everyone was going on there. They were all trying it out. It was, it was one of those things. Instagram, because we're so, most of us have years of connections on there and relationships on Instagram. Them adding this to it actually just completely blew me away.
Well, we were actually having the conversation, so I'm going to say two different things. The first thing is we were having the conversation about who is actually using this Instagram like Snapchat filter, Snapchat feature, basically. And I was telling Juan that, you know what it is? I think it's the older crowd. I think they're trying to like swoon it, because a lot of the so the Snapchat users we all know are between the ages of 18 and 25.
Younger than that.
Younger, and some younger, but usually, that's their age range, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that use it the most. Instagram is a little bit older, and so I think they're gearing a lot of what they're doing, what you can be doing on Snapchat, they're just making accessible to Instagram. And it might be good for for Snapchat, because if you're like what you're doing on Instagram, you can just kind of go and you already know what you're doing on Instagram. You just go over to Snapchat and you do the same thing.
Actually,
so
I would say it's separate. What they're telling, what I would assume is that if you want to do this and you want to post content that's not curated, that's immediate, that will disappear after 24 hours, you don't have to go to Snapchat. You can do it here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, but it's a whole other platform that we can't deny that people are on Snapchat, and if you're doing a good job and you like what you're doing on Instagram, you just move over to Snapchat and you do it.
But that's you. Yeah. You have no problem. It's like, I'm the person, and this is me. I'm the person who created an if this then that recipe because I didn't want to have to go to Twitter and to Facebook to repost the same image.
But what I'm wondering is if this is going to be a game changer, because I think so many people had already established themselves on Instagram, and they were kind of like, we're the ones on top, and we're the ones, we're kind of running the show. And now I was like, is this a game changer? Like, does not this mean now that everybody's on a level playing field again? And it's like you kind of people are gonna build their reputations now, and you know, it could be a toss up who's really like the top Instagrammer now.
It should be interesting because if you go back to the original, like when Instagram came, it basically killed Flickr. Who remembers Flickr? Seriously, because Flickr is still
out there, but it's very like,
but it's used by serious photographers mostly, and people who are just committed. If I need an image, like a Creative Commons image, that I can borrow from someone who posted it with permission, I go to Flickr and I take a look. They are still being actively used, but it used to be that if you wanted to share images online, you shared them on Flickr. And then Instagram came, and Instagram was most of the people that I knew who were on Flickr would tell you, oh, I go to Flickr to share my professional finished stuff, but on Instagram, it's like my daily blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then slowly Instagram became this curated, only my best picture, only, etc. And Snapchat came. And Snapchat was like, all of a sudden, oh, well, this is my unfiltered, this is me without, you know.
But see, that's
my everyday me. I wake up, I go to sleep.
And then Snapchat rolled out Memories. And
yeah.
Memories
it brought it back.
It's going to allow people to curate.
So the second thing that I wanted to say was, I did not expect it, and I have a question for you guys. Was it just kind of out of nowhere when you heard about it, like roll out?
I hadn't heard any rumblings about it. We should have expected it because Facebook is really, really good at copying what other people are doing and then doing it better.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I think that's the big thing, the big takeaway is like everybody always assumes like Facebook, oh no, it's out of style, it's old, but Facebook is
and they come back and they're like,
the 800-pound gorilla. I mean, they're like, as soon as they see something and they tap into it or they buy it. What really would have been cool for me is if Facebook would have bought Snapchat and put it inside of Instagram. That would have just been awesome for me. Like,
but why buy Snapchat if you can do it anyway?
Yes. So you know, Facebook when they rolled out, when they integrated and they pushed to have Messenger become the thing that it is, because I know people who use Messenger who don't use Facebook now.
Really?
That's and
interesting.
As soon as I figure out how they work, we're going to have a conversation about the messenger bots and how they're being used by commerce, by businesses to order and pay and do stuff, and it's all on Facebook Messenger.
Well, here's the thing: it's much easier than actual email to like have company. So a lot of the times when we do business and we're doing a lot of people together, we just use Facebook Messenger, and it's kind of
live.
Yeah, and it's util. Like it's something that. And sometimes I don't even have to be friends with people on Facebook to be able to use Messenger.
Yes.
Which works perfect.
Yes. So, but Facebook did this thing where they created this feature. Messenger was just the ability to send each other messages in Facebook. And then they made it to where you had a unique user ID. And then they did this. And then they did that. And then they pushed it to where it was opt-in to have a separate messenger app, and then you had to use a separate messenger app or you could no longer get messages from people on Facebook. So what I'm saying is Instagram with this stories stuff, what if we're looking at a year from now them rolling out a separate, a honest to God, this is what it does, this is all that it does app. It would not be beyond the history of what Facebook has done. In the meantime, though, I've barely tested it out. I don't know if I like it any better or any worse. They don't have the quote, all the pretty stuff yet. They're not as robust as Snapchat in certain ways. But I'm gonna tell you, I had like 100 different streams last night that I had to go through and take a look at.
Well, this is just the beginning. So I mean, it'll be interesting to see what Snapchat does now. But I think this is just the beginning. So like, who knows? Like in a month or two, where we're gonna be.
I think those, excuse me. I think those Snapchatters, the ones who are who see the change and aren't exactly accepting it. I think some of their argument is, but they don't have filters. Like the filters, like the crowns and the puppy
coming.
And
Facebook already announced that they're coming.
Yes. I thought that was hilarious.
And anyone who thinks that Facebook's not going to have geo filters, that they're not going to have a way,
they're already following you on Facebook
to charge us money. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I know. They're already following you on Facebook. Every time you upload a comment, I know where you're at. Like, I know if you left Houston and you're in New York,
Yeah.
because guess what? It tells me where the hell you're at when you upload like a simple, hey, how's it going? Like, it tells me. So if you think Facebook doesn't know where you're at, again, we've said this before, they're the monster, and they're the obvious monster, and they know what you're doing.
So on the topic of monsters, quote unquote, Pokemon Go. I know that Juan has a thing today for today's in case you missed it, which is going to be an entire segment on Pokemon Go. So how about it?
So I think Pokemon Go, like, like we all have seen the kids that are out there, and like kids and adults, because you see them, and like we go
the
here.
Pokemon zombies.
Yes, we go to we were in Galveston this weekend, and there were a bunch of people just everywhere, like driving up and down, like they were stopping in the middle of the road, and just everywhere, like there's people just playing Pokemon Go. But it really has been a craze, and I was reading this article recently about the in-app industry for gaming, and how that's really become like a huge thing where people are making billions and billions of dollars off of this, like these in-app things, because you're playing a game, and the way they entice you is like it's a free game, you download it for free, and you're playing on it, and you can get certain levels, and there are different like mechanisms and how you do it. But once you get to a certain point, like it's easier. It makes your life easier when you're playing the game. If you buy, like, if you spend 99 cents.
Instead of earning the points.
Right. You spend 99 cents or more to buy a feature, and then you have an easier time winning and
it would be like a sword I need to
to
avenge whatever,
but
right?
Just to give you an idea of the industry, I mean, there's like it's 21 right now. It's so I'm looking at this, and it's right now 21%. It's expected to increase by this year, and it's to $36.87 billion in just in-app games.
Yeah.
And so by 2019, that's supposed to be $52.5 billion. And so that, to me, that's huge. And Pokemon Go itself has already made $120 million, and we're recording at the beginning of August, and this has already made $120 million. It has, $20 million, yeah.
Well, how long ago did they roll out? A couple of weeks ago, like 3 weeks ago.
They haven't even come out. They were
about a month ago, maybe.
July 6th.
Okay. Yeah.
So they started July 6th, and the day after they were released, they were already at the top of the charts as the number one game.
Well, it helped them. The nostalgia factor helped them.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and I use that word on purpose, is that this is the first successful mass-produced use of augmented reality for anything out there, honestly. And so it's the integration between the game and the physical. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people are just astounded by it. They don't know how it works. They don't care how it works.
Well, I was learning a few things this weekend when we were in Galveston, and there was a bunch of people in Galveston. There's a seawall, and right on the other side of the seawall, obviously there's a sea, but there were a couple of people standing in our way while we were walking down the seawall, and I was like, and I'm sitting there with a double stroller trying to push these two kids, heavy kids, down the seawall, and I'm like, excuse me,
you should have made Edgar walk.
Excuse me, right?
Sorry, boy, sorry.
So I'm trying to push people, not push people, but trying to get people out of the way. And I'm like, please look up. You got to look up sometimes from that phone.
But think about the technology
I didn't know.
Involved.
But I was gonna mention, I didn't know that you can get sea creatures by the water as opposed to Discovery Green or Herman Park here in Houston, where it's or even going close to the forest. Like there's certain animals that you can get, and I was like, what?
Yeah,
but think about the technology that's involved in doing something like that, and the technology that's involved in all of these games. So it's all these games that are making all this money, and looking at going back to what I was saying about the money that they're making. Like Clash of Clans has made $2 billion.
Yeah.
On just in-app features. And it's just all of them are making this revenue, simply by people who are looking at their devices, and they're looking to spend time on the devices doing something that's entertaining.
Do you remember Angry Birds? Angry Birds was this little bitty nothing game that ended up with 100 different variations, a movie, all of the T-shirts and the toys and the etc. And it started out as this little bitty nothing free game that my nephew was just addicted to. I think he was 6 at the time, and I'm like, I don't get it. But he loved it
because it's fun. And I think the other thing is you look at the behavior that people have, and some of the companies are adapting to that. So there's one company who actually, they have a game, and what they do is they allow people from across. They have a technology that allows people from everywhere in the world So they'll automatically translate what you're typing so that the other person understands. So you can actually have a conversation with somebody that's in France and who's speaking French and you're speaking English. Like, you can have a conversation. You have to pay for the service, but you can be playing and talking to these people at the same time. And so
here's my thing. I'm not a gaming person. Like, I'm not like a really app game person or whatever. But I do see the behaviors of a lot of people. I mean, mind you, if they traveled all the way to Galveston to go get these sea monsters or whatever, what are they called? Because I'm calling them monsters at this point.
I don't, the Pokemons, I don't know.
Okay, so if they drive all the way to Galveston, I can see why you would not. Why not? Why would I drive to Galveston if I can buy like an in-app and waste my 99 cents?
But that's the fun for a lot of people. And
it's
did they drive to Galveston, or did they happen to be in Galveston and did
No, it looked like a lot of them drove there.
The thing is, like, you can actually, I think it's a business, you can actually partner with Pokemon Go to like make your business a stop for them while you're here.
What I do understand is that actually Metro, so their light rail, if you follow the light rail, there's actually a lot of Pokestops down the light rail. And I thought that was awesome. I was like, I wonder if they partnered with Houston Metro or if they kind of just, they figured it was a public transit.
But, I think that the game was set up in such a way, like parks and churches and museums and libraries and a lot of these places, they set it up on purpose that these are the places to congregate. So
that's smart.
It's interesting.
And the other thing from a business perspective is, like, when we were at the park this weekend and we were watching all these people there, I was like, man, this is a time that the vendors should really be out, like offering, like selling all kinds of stuff, because the crowds are there. So like, it's, you kind of have to think of it both ways. Even if you're not paying and you just happen to be like by circumstance you're getting all these Pokemon people, how can you lure them in to spend their money?
Yes, absolutely. And I don't play Pokemon Go, but I think I'm the only person in my family who doesn't actually. Me,
really,
and my 9-year-old nephew, because it involves going outside.
Oh.
And as he says, all of his friends are in school, so who would he play with?
Yeah. But boy actually plays Pokemon, and he's leveled up, and when we went to Galveston and we went to Discovery Green, he leveled up like 3 levels or something. But it's a thing now. It's a thing. It's like a thing they pick on each other. Excuse me. They pick on each other. Like, what level are you on? Level 14. And so they kept telling boy, you need to level up. You need to level up. And he's like, whatever. But it's like a thing now. And so they're going to have its own lingo. Yeah, its own lingo, its own thing. Like, it's interesting. It's the behavioral aspect of things. It's very interesting. It's definitely not kickball. It's not the kind of things that we used to do. I can still jump a fence. I don't think boy can. But this is where, the new commodities are. And this is where we're at. So yeah, I can see where all that money's going to come from, and I guess what boy's going to be doing next summer.
Okay.
So I'm just going to invite anyone out there who's playing Pokemon Go to reach out and let us know, and we'll commiserate with you, or anyone who's watching their family walk around as Pokemon zombies. This is the time when you get to control the remote. Just remember that.
Oh, that's funny. But switching the topic a little bit, like the other topic I wanted to kind of bring up and just discuss was the topic of upzoning, which, if you're not familiar with upzoning, is I found out is when you're building in an urban area, and you get permission from city planners that you're able to build more units in a particular area or zone.
So a denser population.
Right. If you dedicate a portion of the units that you're building to lower income households. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because for a city like Houston, where we're at, you're seeing that there are a lot more people who are moving into apartments or who are wanting to rent rather than buy a property. And especially because we have a very large millennial population, and that millennial population, which everybody's always like talking about, but the millennial population itself, they're not going into the traditional timeline as of yet. They're not getting married and going to live in the suburbs. They're not buying properties. They're just taking a little bit longer to take those steps, like, even when they're living at home longer. And so because of that, now you have a lot more people that are renting and that are not buying homes. And so what you're seeing is that all throughout the United States, there are a bunch of cities, including Houston, where there's more renters than there are properties that they can rent. And so just to give you an example, like Houston has 37% of a rental population, but they only have 28% rental units. And so that creates an issue, as the population keeps growing, where are these people going to live? And, so we see all these high rises that are coming up.
Residential high rises?
Yeah. And you think sometimes, like, who's going to live there? But this kind of really answers the question. Like, these are the people that are going to live there. But it also opens up some controversy because people,
because if you live in a mostly residential area and they're talking about bringing in more apartment buildings,
right? That means more traffic. And so it's an issue for people because they're like, do we really want this many people living in our neighborhood?
One of the issues that Houston has is, of course, that rents are going up continuously because it's a seller's market. You know, if you have 37% of the people in the city are renters and only 28% of housing is is rental, then you get to charge what you want, and someone's going to take it. And especially, as you said, more and more people are coming into the city.
And the other issue is that we don't have the infrastructure, so we don't have like we have all these high rises, but we don't have any groceries inside the loop, any grocery stores inside the loop.
Especially here, actually, we're recording right now. It's called actually a desert, food desert. Yes, not an actual desert, a food desert. But I was going to mention that. Well, the millennials are kind of doing whatever they want at this point. A lot of them, they don't want kids. They don't want, so there is they're paving their own way. So I think this and a lot of them want to be, living in not necessarily, they want to be living in like historic, neighborhoods. And so it does become problematic when you pull up, a residential high rise.
But then the other issue that you have is cost.
Yeah.
To your existing neighbors.
Well, not just to you. Honestly, one of the reasons why they're asking for where governments or cities are saying, okay, in Houston, yes, you can build more, but you've got to do a certain amount to be lower income, is, no offense, not everybody can afford the inflated rental prices. And I understand. In Houston, average rent is something like $1,800, $2,000 for a 2-bedroom apartment. Which, yes, if you're listening in New York or Los Angeles, you're laughing your head off because that is nothing. If you're listening in San Francisco, you're like, ha, 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 funny, funny, funny. You couldn't even live here. No, in Houston, that's a lot. It's a lot more than where it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Definitely. But I think it is problematic. One of the things I was mentioning before we started hitting record was that is there a necessary need to sit here and actually build all these residential high rises or apartment complexes when there isn't really a need? And there are already houses who would, they are on, for sale, and they're not being sold.
But the thing is that people don't want to live. People want to live in a central location. They don't want to have to They don't want to have to drive out as far to come into the city.
But what I'm saying is, should we cap it? Should there be a cap of how many units, per square mile or whatever?
A lot of people would tell you yes, but here's a house is wasted on me. I'm a renter. A house is wasted on me, and I may change my mind in the next few years or whatever. I don't want to have to deal with the plumber and the getting the lawn mowed and the fact that it's time to get the air ducts cleaned and etc. No, I like having someone who deals with all of that.
But I understand you're a renter, and there are a lot of people out there who buy houses just to be able to rent them.
But if you buy a house, you do have to make sure that the lawn is getting
correct.
Mowed. You do have to, make sure that it's your responsibility.
All the maintenance is up to you.
As a renter,
definitely.
Usually, all the maintenance is up to you, unless there's something structurally wrong.
Yeah.
If we were living in Boston or Atlanta or another city where they still, maybe not Atlanta, but one of the other cities where they actually have honest to goodness zoning that they take seriously, and they want to preserve the culture and the identity of the city, then it wouldn't be an issue. In Houston, however, for us, a 20-year-old building is an old building. We tear things down overnight and just build over it. I used to work at the library, and we had a library that was built in 1920, I think it was 1926. 1926, and we were very proud of our quote-unquote old library. We get people here from New York, and they laugh at us because, their libraries are old.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. It's like Houston, we tear things down.
Or we build over it.
Or we bulldoze over. I mean, even in the Heights, you go up and down those very pretty neighborhoods with the Victorians, and half of those are fake.
Yeah.
Victorians.
Yeah, they are, because they weren't renovated. They were just kind of built to look like their neighbor's house. So that is problematic. So hopefully it's not going to be. They're not going to what is the word? Gentrify.
But I think that's the thing that we're looking at, is like where are cities like Houston going to be in 10-15 years? Because they're going to be closer to New York, because they're going to be closer to where you have more of a very happening downtown where there's a lot of traffic, and then the suburbs are just the suburbs. I mean, is that where we're going?
Who knows? But we'll find out, right?
And that's this week's show. Thank you for joining us for another episode of The Little Radio Show. We invite you to check out our iTunes and our Stitcher channels and leave us a rating or a review. You can find the link to both channels at thelittleradioshow.com.